back with you, ladies and gentlemen. Give me 1 second, make sure everything is working this time. Sorry for the delay, the little hiccup, but that happens sometimes. I think I hear myself coming through now. Okay, great. Appreciate everybody being here and tuning back in. We're going to pick up right where we left off. If you have any questions, as always, just put them in the comments. My apologies again for the technical errors. It happens every once in a while, but it is not, hopefully it's not an everyday, all the time type of thing. But at any rate, appreciate each and every one of you being here today. I think everybody is coming in clear. Hello to everyone on X, friends on YouTube, our friend on Twitch. Thank you all for being here. We're in the middle of talking about Letitia James, the wonderful, and of course I'm joking, the wonderful New York Attorney General Letitia James. My friend, she has some serious problems. She's in serious trouble. I predict that she's going to be indicted very soon, probably sooner than later. And a lot of the credit goes to the gentleman that we're going to be talking about and looking at one of his recent interviews on Newsmax. I got some other clips pertaining to his investigation. His website, I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. He has a website over at whitecollarfraud.com. Excellent site. He really breaks down this entire investigation into Letitia James and her alleged malfeasance. Just irony here cannot be overstated. You have an attorney general that clearly went after Donald Trump at each and every opportunity she had. Her platform was all about Donald Trump. She was like, I'm going to get Trump no matter what. I specifically remember one constituent she was talking to, and she was asked, hey, are you going to take care of Donald Trump for us? And she was real adamant about it, real gleeful. I'm going to be a pain in his, you know what, every single day she goes to work. And the irony does not stop there, because it is just amazing that the charges that she is likely to face, and by the way, the list here is ever expanding, as this Mr. Antar talks about. There's a lot of other questionable things that are going on many other properties, and his investigation is open and ongoing. So essentially, the way I see this, the same type of quote-unquote crime she went after Donald Trump for, she is now facing these types of questionable issues, I guess is the way to say it. And I'm going to be all over this. I'm going to be over on top of this one way or the other. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right back in.
You are a Democrat, right?
Yes.
You are not politically motivated in this whatsoever. What did you uncover? What made you start looking?
It was the beginning of a long process of me looking at New York City politicians and how they spend campaign money and taxpayer money, and also comparing their personal financial disclosures to New York State to the property records, the public property records.
What did you uncover?
Okay, with Tish James, there was a few things that were uncovered. First, each one of her financial disclosures to New York State was false. She omitted mortgages from her disclosures, and she even omitted a property from her disclosures. The second thing I learned is that she has mortgages listed on her financial disclosures that do not appear in the property records. It's strange. Third thing I learned is that on one property in Virginia, she has about $510,000 in mortgages, but she lists the valuation of only $100,000 to $150,000. Her words, not mine. Another thing that I learned was that Tish James has a property in Brooklyn that she lists as 4 units, but it's 5 units under the certificate of occupancy. Yesterday, I visited the property with another researcher, Joel Gilbert. We looked at the doorbells. There's 5 doorbells on the premises. I checked the Con Ed records. There's 5 electrical units for each of the things. You can't have a 5-unit building and then occupy 2 units and call it a 4-unit building.
And she also claimed to live in a home that was her primary residence, because if it is your primary residence, when you get a mortgage, then you get a lower interest rate. And then reporters went knocking on the door and found out they had never seen her there. So
yeah, I'm going to break this down in a little bit because I have everything kind of broken down, and I have pictures of these 2 properties, one in New York City, and then the other property is somewhere in the state of Virginia. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. And, you might be asking yourself, well, what does it matter? It sounds like it's a minor situation. In other words, is it 5 units versus 4 units. Well, first of all, it's very important because she had to have, no, if the allegations are true, these are alleged allegations. I have to be very specific about that. But the evidence is looking pretty damning. And you have to remember, she went after President Trump for similar type of issues. In other words, did he disclose this or that fact properly? Did he misstate the square footage of his particular residence inside of Trump Tower? Remember what was that, Judge Engeron over there in New York City went after Donald Trump. He's got something like a $450 million fine that is accruing approximately $100,000 a day interest. And remember, even if President Trump ends up prevailing in this whole situation, President Trump will not be recouping back that $100,000 in interest. That's just gone, ladies and gentlemen. Every single day he has to pay that interest, and he can kiss it goodbye. He will not receive that money back, period. It's just unfortunately the way these types of matters are taken care of. It's very crooked. It's very wrong. And we all must know and be aware of exactly what happens in our legal system. It's never was designed for this type of nonsense, this type of malfeasance. And the fact that Letitia James is now facing similar type of issues in criminal matters pertaining to residential property, I can't overstate the irony that is in this particular thing. And Monique, thank you for bearing with me, hon. I do appreciate you being here. And yes, it's a terrible shame that she's going to get what she has coming to her. I agree with you 100%. So we're going to dive right back into this. By the way, this guy in the video again is the Sam Antar. Apparently he has some kind of connection to the old Crazy Eddie commercials. I don't know if y'all remember those or not. I don't know if he goes into it or not, but it's interesting that he popped out of nowhere. I never heard of him before that I remember, but his job as a forensic accountant, I mean, this guy is really good as a journalist. His website, I really encourage everybody to go to it and take a look at it. He really goes over these documents and details all of the alleged malfeasance pertaining to Tish James.
So this woman is caught, she's been caught red-handed. Will Big Tish be changing into a big orange jumpsuit soon? What do you think?
Probably, and she deserves it because, when I saw the lawyer's response, Abby Lowell, I mean, I couldn't have dreamed of a more incompetent response that he made in reference to the DOJ, to the referral to the DOJ.
Yeah.
Okay. He's saying, "Well, it was always 4 units on her Brooklyn property." I don't care if it was 2 units, okay? The fact is that the certificate of occupancy says it's 5 units. And then he points to a document that reflects the false information, her HAMP application.
And now she wants us taxpayers to foot the bill for her lawyers. She's saying that this is all a political witch hunt. She was on New York One. Here's what she said. I want you to listen to this, Sam.
Okay.
Let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour.
It seems to be based on some social media posts that I know were made by partisan political actors.
It's incredible.
Political actors.
Let her frame it whatever way.
That last guy that you just heard was a Spectrum-run so-called news reporter. This guy's supposed to be a news reporter, basically supposed to be focusing on getting the facts. This guy's not looking for facts. He's the one saying, oh, you're being abused. You got political operatives going after you, Miss James. A bunch of nonsense.
The way she wants. She committed mortgage fraud. She violated New York state law and filed false disclosures from New York state. Trump didn't do it. I didn't do it. MAGA didn't do it. Partisan actors didn't do it. She did it.
So you're not a partisan political actor?
You know something? No, but even if I was, it doesn't change the fact that she committed mortgage fraud. She can say anything she wants about me.
She really can. You released more documents this week. What did you find?
Well, there's quite a few. First of all, there were some complaints made about the units in her building. And it seems like those complaints overlap the units that she claims to occupy. So is she really there? Who's filing these complaints to the Department of Buildings over peeling paint? Or is there sublets, illegal sublets? I don't know. But these are the things that every time we dig, every time we think we reach the bottom of it, we find a new bottom.
It's like you're peeling.
Yeah, and remember, on one of these properties, she signed federal documents under penalty of perjury that her father was her husband. And yes, you heard that right. She claims her father is her husband. Unbelievable when you get right down to it.
Onion back. She claimed a Brooklyn apartment was a 4-unit property. We talked about that. Official records say it's a 5-unit. She enabled her to then save tens of thousands of dollars. Right. So at the end of the day, this is all about her saving money, making money.
Exactly. Every single financial disclosure that contained false information, she benefited from financially.
Minute left. Are you ever worried? I mean, you're going after Big Tish. She's the attorney general. She's a top lawyer.
I had the FBI up my rear end during the crazy 80 days for 10 years, and they taught me a good lesson. I'm not afraid of her or anybody else.
President Trump, he put out the tweet of your face. You're not even MAGA. What did you think about that? That's pretty cool. You have caught the attention of the president of the United States.
Yeah, President Donald Trump actually made a post, as you see right there on your screen, on Truth Social pertaining to this exact story. Obviously, he has to be very happy.
States here.
Good, but irrespective of catching the attention of the President of the United States, she is guilty. She committed mortgage fraud. She filed false disclosures to New York State, and she can't undo what she did. She can point to anybody she wants. It doesn't matter. She was the one who put pencil to paper.
Sam Antar, go after Governor Hochul next. I want to see what you find out there.
Interesting, isn't it? Come on. This is such an underreported story at this point in my assessment, because it's just so amazing that she went after Donald Trump the way that she did. And again, if the allegations are proven true, she has some serious culpability. I mean, it could happen to a nicer person, right? I mean, my heart is bleeding for her not. Matter of fact, here's one of these so-called clips by Tish James. Let's take a look at this together.
President
here.
of these United States, representing our respective states, stand up and enforce the rule of law. The president of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
This is the one.
We're gonna definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
I love that particular clip right there. That was the one that they just played over and over again. And that's what she ran on. Can you believe that? That was her platform. I'm not even sure whether that's legal to run on a platform that I'm going to put someone in prison. Absolutely insane.
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her, you know what.
Amen.
The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms.
That was the document that we went over the other day.
He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different.
Yeah, what it is if you claim it as your personal residence, the bottom line is you generally can get a cheaper rate as far as the mortgage rate that you're being charged by your bank. So it can result in some substantial savings is the way to look at this. As a matter of fact, Roger Stone had something that I thought was interesting to say about this. So let's listen in for a second here.
She filed a power of attorney with the mortgage company in which she said that within 60 days of closing on this property, she would become a legal resident of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Problem with that, of course, is that would make her constitutionally ineligible to be the Attorney General of New York. And actually, I checked New York State law. The way it works is if you move out of state, the office is automatically vacated. There isn't even a hearing. So only one of two things can be true. Either she moved, in which case she's not eligible to be AG, or she didn't move, in which case she is guilty of mortgage fraud.
Gotta
That
love
would
the
be interesting
jumpsuit
if that
there.
was just the first case, but you go all the way back to her first mortgage, one that she got when she was 24 years old, fresh out of Howard University. She claimed that her father was her husband in order to use his.
I got to be careful on this clip. There's some music going off in the background, although it's very light. YouTube is very strict on their policies. But if you're interested in it, you go to my YouTube page. I'm sorry, my X page, which is Reach JR Dukes. Everything else on the social medias is simply at JR Dukes. But you can go to Reach JR Dukes if you like to take a look at that clip in its entirety. Here's another picture of our friend Sam right here on his way to Letitia James' apartment building in Brooklyn yesterday. Going to take a look at it and continue his investigation. Right on the money. I think that's just real rich. And it's one of these things that, as again, it's like Alice in Wonderland, the criminal version of it. It just seems like it's going to grow legs and keep sprouting and going in different directions. This is one of the investigation tapes they've been talking about. Let's take a quick listen to this, and then we'll talk about it.
And then it said,
It's James,
oh,
the Attorney General.
oh, okay.
So that's her house.
This is supposed to be one of the houses. I believe this is the one in New York City. We'll take another look at it from another angle in a second, but let's listen to this. And you can see there is some captions on this. I believe this was put together by Project Veritas.
So only she lives there?
Her family lives there,
Oh, really? Oh,
but,
okay. I
but
didn't-
they have apartments. The C of O does not have changed. It's just,
Well, it's kind of confusing because it says 1 to 4 family, and then it says just one family.
on the C of O.
Yeah.
The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a
Yeah, so that's the one where she's saying it's only a 4-bedroom unit, and it is a 5-bedroom unit. We're going to take a look at that here in just a second. Here was our friend Sam on the Bernie program. I believe that was today. Let's take a quick listen in on this, and we'll talk about it here.
Just really quickly here, Sam. How cooked is Letitia James? Should we expect the handcuffs that we've seen on various high-ranking Democrat officials across the country happening last week? Should we expect that? I mean, will we actually get the handcuff moment here, Letitia James?
I don't know what will happen. I can't predict the future. But all I can say is whether or not they handcuff her, she's guilty. The evidence shows that she's guilty. Most likely they are going to handcuff her, and most likely they are going to arrest her, and most likely they are going to indict her. But irrespective of that, the documentation speaks for itself. And if they can't bring a case against them, shame on them.
Take a look at this here. You got the Brooklyn property value discrepancy. Remember, she went after Donald Trump. One of the many things they went after him was alleged problems as far as under oath, allegedly stating what the property value is of particular properties. And as you can see on this graphics here, you got a large difference as far as the property value goes. Just one of the many things that Letitia James is facing
They
here.
suffer the humiliation. I stand behind all of the research that I've done, and all of the research that I've done shows that she's guilty of mortgage fraud, violating New York State financial disclosure statutes, mail fraud, wire fraud, whatever you want to call it.
She's got some serious problems, no doubt about it. I'm going to reach out to this Mr. Sam Antar, and I'm going to see if I can get him to come on the program. I think that would be fun, and just kind of hear things from his perspective. He seems like he is quite the journalist, quite the forensic, if you will, the forensic accountant, as he calls himself. I think that is something worth checking into right here. So, and here was another clip. Yeah, this one was off Newsmax. Also, let's just listen to this ever so briefly.
Rules don't apply to you. Happy Valentine's Day. She, of course, referring to Donald Trump. Our next guest.
Yeah, this was a poem that she put on one of her X posts. It was basically to antagonize and aggravate President Donald Trump. And of course, this is one of the many things that are going to come back to bite her, which is
a
real
year
sad.
ago, roses are red, violets are blue. No one's above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Happy Valentine's Day. She, of course, referring to Donald Trump. Our next.
Isn't that sad? That's just terrible, ain't it? It's all going to come back. All going to come back to roost. I would not want to be here. And one of the other stories I'm breaking today, just mention it. I'm going to show you a quick article on it here in a second. But this organization, America First Legal, has filed a bar complaint, meaning because she's a lawyer, has filed a bar complaint against New York Attorney General Letitia James following the DOJ criminal referral. She has been referred to the Department of Justice, the DOJ, which you never want to be referred to the DOJ on a criminal referral, but that's exactly what has happened to sweet Letitia James. And, as far as I'm concerned, it couldn't happen to a nicer, more deserving lady. So that is what it is. Let's take a quick peek at this article here I was just telling you about, because I want to just hit the highlights of it because it's worth mentioning ever so quickly. And I think tomorrow, the next day, I'm gonna actually go ahead and read the article at some point so that we can go over it together. So here we go. This was on foxnews.com on their digital, I believe. But the ethics complaint against Letitia James calls for New York State courts to investigate Trump admin fraud claims. It's a little confusing on the title, but New York Attorney General Letitia James is the subject of a new state ethics complaint filed by pro-Trump legal nonprofit called America First Legal. The AFL complaint filed last week adds to the recent woes for James, who is also facing a criminal referral that we just talked about from the Trump administration related to accusations of mortgage fraud. For a state prosecutor who has maligned the president of the United States for political gain, public accountability will serve as a cure for Letitia James' endless lawfare and abuse of power. AFL Vice President Dan Epstein said in a statement to Fox News Digital. And here is an actual copy of the complaint if you're interested in it. Again, I'm not going to go through it today, but I have plans to go through it very, very soon. Just interesting how that, I would say that things come home to roost, right? Isn't that a nice way to kind of look at it? I also want to just kind of go over this document real quick, get everybody an overview of exactly what Miss Letitia James is potentially facing here. And I want to pull that up. Here we go. And this here, if you can't read it, I'll try to blow it up a little bigger so everybody can see it. And Monique, I appreciate all your comments today, by the way. She says, Sam Amwar doesn't miss it. No, he does not. And I don't know if y'all caught it earlier. Apparently, he was caught up in that crazy Eddie thing I was mentioning. And I like his comment. He says he's had dealings with the FBI and it taught him a lesson. And I would imagine it would teach you a lesson. And you're right on point again, Monique. The fact that no one is above the law. And that is a direct quote from Letitia James. If I'm the prosecutor prosecuting Letitia James, when I go in front of the jury, I'm going to tell you her own statements are going to be exhibit A, B, C, and D. No one is above the law. We can't make excuses for this or that. If you break the law, you have to pay the price. And to that I say amen, as I'm sure most of you would agree. I mean, it just couldn't happen to a nicer, more deserving lady. So I want to briefly go over this with you. Okay, you got sweet Letitia James right there. Now, here are the allegations, all right, just so we kind of have an idea. She declared her Virginia home as her principal residence while she was New York Attorney General. Now, why is that a problem? Well, folks, you're only allowed to have one principal residence. Also, if you are the Attorney General or a public office holder in the state of New York, as it is the case with most states, well, guess what? You have to be a resident of that state. And I believe in New York, you have to be a resident currently of the state of New York, and you had to have been a resident continuously for the previous 5 years. And of course, that's not the case with these sworn documents that are going to be extremely problematic for Letitia James. It says on here, she misrepresented the Brooklyn property. She said that it was only 4 units and it's 5 units. In reality, she signed mortgage docs claiming she was married to her own father. She omitted mortgages and properties from financial disclosures and allegedly received better loan terms through, and I should say via, this false information. Now, here is the possible consequences she is facing: up to 30 years in the federal penitentiary, up to a $1 million fine, permanent disbarment from practicing law. And that is a serious issue because obviously if you are an attorney and you no longer can practice law, that's the thing about it. If you are an attorney and you lose your law license, well, guess what? It's not like you can just hire someone else and work under their license like you can in certain trades. It doesn't work like that with the law, my friends. The best you could ever do maybe would be a paralegal, and most places will not hire you to be a paralegal if you have a felonious record. She really had a good time with Donald Trump's alleged 34 felonies. It's going to be interesting to see how she deals with this. She would also have a ban from being a public officer forever. And of course, her political career would be over. I made some notes. The irony, no one's above the law. Of course, now it's her turn. Add insult to injury, ladies and gentlemen. She now wants taxpayers to pay her defense bill. Isn't that interesting, huh? Letitia James isn't a victim of Trump, MAGA, or politics. She's a victim of her own signature on a stack of falsified documents. And I just think that that is extremely important, and we need to just kind of keep that in mind. Let me show you this property real quick. I think I can share the screen with you because I want to pop through a few of these with you here. Here we go. Yeah, I think I can share the entire window. Let's see how this works here. Okay. I think this will do it. All right. This is the actual property right here that is in New York City at 298 Lafayette Avenue. And I'm not disclosing anything that's not public information. This is all out there. That's how I got this information. And it's not anything new that I am disclosing. It's all over the place, all over the internet. So I just want to be clear about that in case someone mentions anything. But this is the property right here. Matter of fact, it's kind of interesting. I don't know what these certificates are, but look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Normally you have these type of certificates if it's some type of construction that's going on, or if a permit is being approved, or a certificate of occupancy has been applied for, it's been granted. Guess what? There's 5 on here. I am willing to bet that it's 1 per unit. Remember, she said it's a 4-bedroom unit, and of course it's a 5, not I mean bedroom, a 4-unit occupancy when indeed it is a 5. This is what Zillow says about this particular property here in Brooklyn. Their estimate on it's $1.862 million. So this is a very substantial property. Of course, it's located in the heart of Brooklyn. Now, this is going to be the big one that you're going to take a look at it right here. This is rather a modest looking house. It's a good looking house, but I mean, it's not extremely, what I would call ritzy. But this is going to be a serious problem for Tish James, ladies and gentlemen. She has sworn in documents that she uses this as her primary residence. Now, in some states and here in Florida, we don't use terms like primary residence. We call it your domicile. The terms are interchangeable. Remember this, you can only have one domicile in the entire world. You can have as many residents all over the world that you want. There's nothing illegal about that. The problem she has, and that she's going to have, is she has basically sworn under oath that she lives in Virginia and she is married to her father. She got loans that she was not otherwise entitled to. So remember how she was all over Donald Trump by telling you and me that these people have to be held accountable. And even though the banks are not mad at President Donald Trump, it's still basically robbing from our system because he gets better loan terms. He gets better mortgage rates. And she just went on and on about it. And she has apparently done the same exact thing. If these allegations are true, and it looks pretty substantial, that she's got problems, ladies and gentlemen. She's got some serious problems going on. And I went ahead and there's the actual house. You kind of see the neighborhood. I call this neighborhood just your typical nice working class neighborhood, whatever you want to use. It's worth $240,000 according to our friends over on Zillow. Very interesting, right? Let me see. What do y'all think about this? I love Monique's comment. No one is above the law. And you're exactly right, Monique. Absolutely right on the money. Nothing gets past you, sweetheart, and I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to start wrapping it up for today. I want y'all all just to remember that In the words of the great Letitia James, no one is above the law, and I could not agree more with her. It's really just that simple. If y'all have not taken time to subscribe, it's a good time to hit the subscribe button. That way you know when I go live or I have one of my videos come out. Also, if you want to do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. It helps the channel and it helps the algorithm here. So that's pretty good. Looks like the hood. Okay, Monique, you said it, not me. I was trying to be kind. I normally don't mix words when it comes around here, but yeah, I wouldn't differ with you on that. It's I don't know if it's actually the hood. It just looks like what I call a working class neighborhood, and I think there's a lot of money to be made with homes like that, and a lot of people like this James apparently will buy homes in that type of neighborhood, fix them up, and flip them. Nothing wrong with that at all. But okay, I'm not going to argue with you, Monique. You know exactly what you're talking about. We'll just let it go like that. Again, my friends, thanks for taking time to have a conversation with me this evening. Hope to see y'all very soon. Always like to tell you, keep that mind free. Never give up. Until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.